Hi everyone! If you are trying to break into QA testing, you've probably noticed something frustrating. Job postings use terms like QA engineer, software tester, and QC specialist interchangeably, but here is the shocking truth. They are not the same thing, and this confusion is costing people jobs. I've seen countless qualified candidates get rejected simply because they couldn't explain the difference between testing and quality assurance in an interview. And today I'm going to clear up this confusion once and for all, and by the end of this video you'll understand exactly where you fit in the QA career ladder and how to position yourself for success. Whether you are coming from a completely different field or you're already in tech but want to transition into QA, this guide will give you the foundation you need. So what is software testing? Let's start with the basics, but I promise this isn't going to be another boring definition dump. According to the ISTQB, that's the International Software Testing Qualifications Board, the gold standard for testing certifications, testing is a process that includes all lifecycle activities, both dynamic and static, related to planning, preparation, and evaluation of software components to determine they meet the requirements and are fit for purpose. That sounds complex, but here's what it actually means in simple terms. Testing is the process of analyzing software and its documentation to find defects and improve product quality. But here's what's crucial, and this trips up so many beginners. Testing is not just about finding bugs. That's a common misconception. The primary goal of testing is to ensure our product meets quality standards. Finding defects is actually a side effect, not the main purpose. Let me give you a real-world example. Imagine you're testing a login form. You are not just trying to break it by entering weird characters, right? You are validating that it works as expected for real users, that it meets security requirements, that it provides proper error messages, and that it integrates correctly with the rest of the system. That's why testing involves both dynamic testing, actually running the software, and static testing, reviewing the documentation, code, and requirements without executing anything. Now let's move further to the testing lifecycle, STLC in other words. Now here is something that will set you apart in interviews, understanding the software testing lifecycle, or STLC. So most beginners think testing means write some test cases and click around the application. But professional testing follows a structured approach with distinct phases. Phase 1, requirements analysis. That's where we study what needs to be built. We're not just reading user stories, we are identifying testable requirements and potential risks. Phase 2 is test planning. We determine our testing strategy, what types of testing we will perform, what tools we will use, and what our acceptance criteria will be. Phase 3 is test case development. Now we create our detailed test scenarios. This isn't just happy path testing, we are thinking about edge cases, negative scenarios, and integration points. Phase 4 is test execution. This is the phase most people think of when they hear testing. We run our test cases, document results, and log defects. Phase 5 is defect management. This is when we track, prioritize, and verify fixes for any issues we've found. Phase 6 is test reporting. We analyze our results and communicate the quality status to stakeholders. Here is the key insight. Each phase feeds into the next, and this cycle repeats throughout development integrations. Understanding this life cycle shows employers you think systematically about testing, not just randomly. The next topic is quality control versus quality assurance versus quality management. This is where it gets interesting and where most people get confused. Let me break down the hierarchy that actually exists in the industry. Testing is the foundational level. As a tester, you're working with finished products, executing test cases, finding defects, and reporting results. You are following established procedures and documentation. Quality control is the next level up. Quality control includes testing, but it's broader. As a QC specialist, You're not just executing tests, you're analyzing quality metrics, contributing to test strategy, and making decisions about overall product quality. You might be involved in creating testing procedures and standards for your team. Quality assurance is different entirely, and this is where many companies get it wrong. QA isn't about testing the final product, it's about ensuring the processes that create the product are sound. QA engineers focus on process improvement, preventing defects rather than finding them, and establishing quality standards across the organization. Quality management sits at the top and includes all quality activities, including policy setting, strategic planning, and organizational quality improvement. Here's what's frustrating for job seekers. Many companies post QA engineer positions when they actually want testers. The key is to read the job description carefully and understand what they're really asking for. In your career progression, you'll typically start as a tester, grow into QC, quality control, responsibilities, and may eventually move into QA or quality management roles. But here's the thing, you can have a successful, well-paid career at any of these levels. Let's move further to verification and validation. Let me explain two concepts that come up constantly in QA interviews: verification and validation. Most people confuse these, but the difference is actually simple once you understand it. Verification asks, are we building the product right? It's about confirming that our product meets the specified requirements. Think of it as checking against the blueprint. Validation asks, are we building the right product? It's about ensuring the product meets user needs and expectations, even if those needs aren't perfectly captured in the requirements. Here is a perfect example. Imagine we are building a bicycle based on specific requirements: 2 wheels, leather seat, steel frame, specific colors. We build it exactly to spec and verify it meets all the requirements. Verification passed, right? But then we discover this bicycle is intended for 3-year-old children who can't balance on 2 wheels. They need training wheels or a tricycle. But we build the product correctly according to requirements, but we build the wrong product for the user. That's a validation failure. In software terms, you might verify that a registration form has all required fields and accepts valid input. But validation would involve confirming that the registration process actually makes sense for user and serves the business purpose effectively. Understanding this distinction shows interviewers you think beyond just following test scripts. You understand the bigger picture of product quality. And now let's move on to career progression and interview tips. Let's talk about your career path and how to position yourself for success. As a junior tester, you'll be executing test cases, logging defects, and learning the product. Focus on attention to detail, clear communication, and understanding the testing fundamentals you've covered. As a mid-level QC specialist, you'll start contributing to test planning, mentoring juniors, and getting involved in process improvements. Develop skills in test automation, different testing types, and metrics analysis. As a senior QA engineer, you'll be designing test strategies, leading testing efforts for major features, and making quality-related decisions. Focus on leadership skills, advanced technical knowledge, and business understanding. As a QA lead or QA manager, you'll manage teams, establish quality standards, and work on process improvements across projects. For interviews, here's what you need to know. Always cite your sources when discussing definitions. Mention ISTQB standards or other recognized frameworks. It shows you understand industry standards, not just company-specific practices. Practice explaining these concepts in your own words, but know the official definitions. If an interviewer changes your explanation, you can refer to recognized standards rather than getting into arguments. Most importantly, always connect theory to practical examples. Don't just recite definitions. Explain how you'd apply these concepts in real testing scenarios. And this is the last thing for today, practical next steps. Here is what I want you to do right now to accelerate your QA career. First, download the ISTQB syllabus. It's free and available in multiple languages. Even if you don't plan to get certified immediately, it's the industry standard reference. Second, start thinking in terms of the testing lifecycle. when you see software, mentally walk through how you test it systematically, not just randomly clicking around. Third, practice distinguishing between testing, QC and QA activities. When you read job postings, identify what they're really asking for versus what they're calling the role. And finally, start building practical experience. Set up test scenarios for websites you use daily, practice writing clear defect reports, document your learning process. This shows employers you are serious about the field. And remember that the QA field is constantly evolving, but these fundamentals never change. Master these concepts and you will have a solid foundation for any QA role, whether you are testing mobile apps, web applications, or enterprise software. The companies that are hiring QA professionals right now need people who understand these distinctions and can contribute to quality from day one. With this foundation, you're already ahead of candidates who just know how to click buttons and report bugs. Your QA career starts with understanding these fundamentals. Now you have them, and what's your next step going to be?